With online participants also.
Right.
Because
Let me try to present. I can't see that.
Good morning, everyone. On the behalf of IMI Delhi, we extend a very warm welcome to all of you for today's conference on circular futures, innovative strategies for e-waste management and resource recovery, organized as a part of Vision Viksit Bharat 2047 initiative with the support of ICSSR in collaboration with BML Munjal University. As India looks ahead to its centenary of independence, this initiative envisions a sustainable, inclusive, and developed nation. Today's gathering reflects that very spirit, bringing together leading scholars, policymakers, industry experts, and practitioners to deliberate on innovative, actionable strategies for managing electronic waste and advancing circular economic practices. In line with our commitment to sustainability, you will notice that instead of providing water bottles to our guests, we have given them flasks. Sustainability often comes with inconveniences, but embracing those challenges is at the core of today's theme and vision. It is through such mindful actions that we can all contribute to a circular future. Before we begin with today's proceedings, we would like to thank ICSSR for providing us with this opportunity.
To formally commence the conference, we would now like to invite Dr. Himadri Das, the Director General of IMI Delhi, to kindly join us for the lamp lighting ceremony. Dr. Himadri Das, as the Director General of IMI, has overall responsibility of all three campuses in Delhi, Bhubaneswar, and Kolkata. He took on this role in October 2018 on his return to IMI after being away for almost 6 years. During the time he was away, he first served as Director of Great Lakes Institute of Management, Gurgaon, and then as Director of MDI Gurgaon. In his first innings at IMI Delhi, he spent 11 years as Professor of Finance and Information Systems, in addition to taking on a variety of leadership roles, out of which 5 years were as the Dean. Prior to these academic roles, he has about 13 years of corporate experience, mainly in the IT products and services industry, in the US and India, for software multinationals involved with products for engineering and financial applications. He has been a visiting professor at the University of Luxembourg, the Tampere University in Finland, and the Grenoble Graduate School of Business in France. He has a BTech and MBA from IIT Delhi and an MS and a PhD from the University of Virginia, USA.
I would request all the panelists to come for the lecture. I will go up and all of you. Yeah. I go. The light is there. In that case, start with Mandeep since he's on that side. You're the boss. Like you do it. You're the boss. Up. Let's go.
Thank you, sir, and thank you to all the panelists. We would now request you to address our audience and set the tone for this eventful day.
First of all, my apologies for keeping you waiting. Uh, Good morning to everybody. A very warm welcome to this one-day conference. I am delighted that we are hosting you in collaboration with the PML Munjal. And as already has been mentioned by our students, we are thankful to ICSSR for the funding. Now, this topic of circular economy and in particular the focus on e-waste, I think couldn't have come as at a better time in an industry academia collaborative platform. And we have both sets of people here. Because finally it has to be a collaboration between industry and academia to make these things work. And circular economy is not something, it's not a fancy buzzword to use anymore. I think the days of the linear economy are long gone or should be long gone, if not gone already. Because taking from nature, making, using, and disposing is the antithesis of sustainability. And I think the biggest, I don't even want to use the word buzzword because buzzword has different connotations. The biggest imperative for the world today is to be sustainable. It has implications on climate, it has implications on natural resources, it has implications all over the place. And circular economy is a definitive way to move towards sustainability, at least on a few dimensions. So now instead of take from nature, make, use, and dispose, we look at how we can minimize taking from nature in the first place. And you hear about renewable sources of energy, where we're not taking stuff out of the ground like coal or oil or natural gas, and looking at stuff that is by nature renewable, wind and sun and things like that. So it starts there by taking less from nature and also by making sure that instead of disposal, you are doing recycling. And that's where the e-waste piece comes in. So my assessment is that going from linear to circular is not just figuring out how to recycle. That is important, how to recycle, but that's not the only piece. That's not the only lever we have. You have to also figure out how you can redesign your processes so that you generate less waste in the first place. So there are two levers that you can play with. One is you recycle what used to be waste. Other is you redesign your systems and processes so that it is designed to generate less waste in the first place. If you do both of these things, and when these two ends meet, I think we're moving towards not only a circular economy, but minimizing waste in general. Now, very briefly coming to the topic of e-waste, since that is the focus of this conference. Technology is great. I'm a big fan of technology. I've come from the technology industry, and I'm probably the biggest champion of using technology wherever I work, including here. So technology is good. In fact, it's great, and we should continue using it more than we do today. But we have to be mindful of the waste it generates. So if I look at something like this, or the laptop or whatever, there are two angles to disposing it traditional way. One is that it has toxic chemicals, which is hazardous to the people who handled it, hazardous to the environment. Second is these toxic chemicals are often rare metals, which are expensive. So if you could reuse those components, then not only are you reducing dumping of toxic stuff, but you're also recovering. There's an economic benefit of the recovery you can do. This is just an example of e-waste. Another thing that many of you might have read about, this is not e-waste, but it is how technology is leading to depletion of natural resources, is that Gen AI is big, and I'm very happy it's there. It's the best thing that happened, I think, since sliced bread. But the servers that are running the engine behind it, they consume huge amounts of electricity. And traditionally, most of that electricity has come from non-renewable sources. Now there is a big push to use renewable energy in these servers. So I know this is not exactly e-waste, but the reason I'm bringing this up particularly is because both e-waste and what I'm talking about now, running servers, some comes of them with huge GPUs, with all these NVIDIA chips in them, are huge electricity guzzlers. So that's something that needs to be addressed. I don't know if there is any paper in this conference which will talk about that, but that is something that I think we need to keep our eye on. We can't take our eye off the ball on that. So I will not say anything else. So thank you very much again for coming. And unfortunately, I have a very busy schedule, plus I have to also travel later in the afternoon. So I will not be able to have the good fortune of listening to the presentations, but I'm sure they'll be great. And then Pinaki and Nikita will give me a download later. So thank you very much, everybody, for coming.
Thank you so much, sir, for your inspiring words. Now, we would like to transition to our panel discussion.
We are honored to have amongst ourselves Mr. Mayank Sinha. With over 2 decades of experience across diverse industries and geographies, Mr. Sinha brings a rich blend of strategic insight and hands on leadership. His professional journey includes more than 8 years in international markets, where he contributed to billion-dollar pharmaceutical companies by driving global alliances in licensing and partnerships. After returning to India, he played a key role in shaping strategic initiatives for another billion-dollar global organization before venturing into entrepreneurship, founding a D2C startup in the health and nutrition space. His passion for consumer centric innovation, marketing, and sustainability eventually led him to Atero, where he now drives the growth of SellSmart, a D2C platform that simplifies the responsible selling of all appliances. He leads marketing and brand strategy, combining performance driven digital outreach with a purpose led approach. His work lies at the intersection of digital, retail, and environmental impact. We would like to invite Dr. Himadri Das to facilitate Mr. Sinha with planters as a token of our appreciation.
We would now like to introduce our esteemed panelist, Mr. Mandeep Manocha, who is the co-founder and CEO of Cashify, India's foremost e-commerce platform. With over 13 years of experience, he has been instrumental in building the country's largest trusted marketplace for buying, selling, and repairing pre-owned devices. His entrepreneurial journey began with Reglobe, a consulting venture that delivered waste management solutions for organizations such as Nokia and Indian Railways. Having shaped India's e-commerce landscape for nearly a decade and a half, Mr. Manocha brings rare ground-level insight that bridge policy, industry, and consumer needs. His expertise in building scalable, technology-driven solutions will help steer discussions on sustainable, consumer-centric, and circular models for India's rapidly growing electronic sector. Now, we would like to request Dr. Himadri Das to facilitate Mr. Manoja with planter as token of our appreciation.
We are honored to have amongst ourselves Mr. Sahil Jain. Mr. Sahil Jain is Principal Enterprise Architect at Adobe with over 18 years of global leadership in digital transformation across the US, UK, UAE, and APAC. He has led major programs for Fortune 100 companies, including Microsoft, HSBC, Coca-Cola, Etihad, and Vodafone. He is also the founder of a US-based edtech startup pioneering innovation in AI-powered learning. An alumnus of Georgia Tech, Mr. Jain holds a master's in computer science, an MBA, a BTech in engineering, and executive education from Wharton. Recognized as a thought leader at the intersection of technology and business strategy, he is passionate about empowering future leaders with CXO level insights in AI, SaaS, and innovation, shaping the future of technology and business. We would request Dr. Himadri Das to facilitate Mr. Jain with planters as a token of our appreciation.
We are honored to have amongst ourselves Ms. Harpreet Kaur Ghai, who leads the knowledge development vertical at Aspire Impact, where she drives thought leadership in ESG, sustainability, and impact measurement. An MBA in finance and a Lean Six Sigma Green Belt holder from KPMG, she brings 14 plus years of experience across ESG, private equity, and public ownership domains with prior roles at S&P Global Market Intelligence, Alternative Path, and as an independent consultant. For past 3 years, Ms. Khai has led Impact Future Project, delivering 7 research publications, managing multiple launches and networking events, and overseeing communications and product development, thereby shaping discourse on market projections, climate change, and emerging sustainability roles. Now, we would like to request Dr. Himadri Das to facilitate Ms. Harpreet with planters as a token of our appreciation. Thank you so much, sir.
It is also our immense honor to have Professor Pinkai Das Gupta among us. Professor Das Gupta is a distinguished faculty member in the area of marketing at IMI New Delhi. Prior to joining IMI, he served at the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade as associate professor. Before his academic journey, Professor Das Gupta spent nearly a decade in the advertising industry, working with leading agencies such as Redivision, DYNR, and Mudra. Since moving into academics, Professor Das Gupta has taught and researched extensively in marketing, international business, and trade marketing, leading several ministry and multilateral projects in areas such as market entry strategy, competitiveness mapping, and global value chains. At IMI, he continues to pursue his interests in consumer behavior, branding, and digital marketing. We are delighted to have him with us today. Please join me in welcoming Professor Pinaki Das Gupta to moderate the session and guide the discussion.
Morning, everybody. Warm welcome to all the participants, to the panelists, to the conference presenters. We have a very large mix of papers which we have been submitted. I think more than 55, you said. It's a mix of international and national both. But what is very unique to this conference is that we somehow managed to convince people like Mandeep from Cashify, people from Atero, Mayank, then we have Harpreet, Sahil and all of these people, they come from the industry. And so far, this whole thing, of sustainability, circle, etc., we have been seeing a very one-sided kind of a thing, largely associated with limited set of stakeholders. But we thought that it's important that we get the industry to talk about it. So when a person like Mandeep comes in from Cashify, he brings in a very interesting perspective. For example, before we started off this session in the morning, one of the things that he talked about was the fact that we already have a lot of paranoia about devices. That this device could be unsafe, it could be something which is having an own set of problems and all. But that's where those myths that we are trying to break through. Similarly with Mayank, Mayank, we go long back in terms of association. And the kind of work that Mayank is doing, you will see that he brings in a very different kind of a perspective. In the morning, we were speaking to Harpreet and trying to understand about impact measurement, impact assessment in terms of how circular economy, in terms of sustainability, ESG, etc. works. So I am assuming that the deliberation here is going to be something very, very intense. It's going to be something very different, where both the industry and people from academics like Dr. Ruchi is here, who thankfully, who decided to be a part of this panel here and bring her own contribution. So industry academia is what we are really looking at in terms of how this flow really, kind of kickstart. So there are a set of questions which I have. And I'm going to start it off with the first question that I have is for Mr. Mandeep, and you may like to, kind of bring it forward how you want to do this. So to begin with, we would love to hear from each one of you. Why does the issue of e-waste matter personally to you, and why should India be talking about it now? So Mandeep, you want to start?
Thank you, everyone. And I think this, this event is down to memory lane for me, because when I started in 2009, I was just as you guys, students here, and some of who are undergrad. My first conference that I attended, I remember, was in Pragati Maidan. It was on e-waste management. And it's been 16 years that from that conference, and I think my life has taken a unique turn. So this issue of e-waste management is very close to my heart, because I grew up in an environment where recycling was a way of life. I saw metal recycling from very young age. And I think at some point, I remember the topic of e-waste started coming on newspapers and PR, and the government started saying that it's a mounting problem and we need to, solve it. And as a young graduate, I said, okay, this is a great opportunity for me to build a career. So we went out and tried to figure out if we could build a recycling company. And I think by that time, Matero had already started their operation in 2008. And one thing that, initial 1 year got us to start pondering and come back to drawing table was there's a lot of talk about e-waste, but where is it? We couldn't get hands on e-waste. Everywhere we went, there were only very limited quantity of e-waste available. People would say that a lot of it goes to unorganized channels. Yes, it did. But we followed it to Mundka, we followed it to Seelampur. But we never saw thousands of metric tons of e-waste. We saw a few hundred metric tons, but we never saw that draconian amount which the government was talking about. What made us, and that's where there was a realization that the waste is actually not out there, it is lying in people's homes. Right? And I think 1.5 decades out, still a majority of it is lying in people's homes. I'm sure all of you would have something lying in your house. So I think it is an important problem to solve, but from a holistic point of view, wherein education becomes really important, that how do you tell people that it is not a draconian stuff, it is actually a valuable resource. And if you put an economic tag around it, I think the problem could be solved easily. And that's what we've tried to do. But I think a lot of impetus is now going behind how do we bring out e-waste. And I think education sector is one of the foremost places where, you could teach kids young why responsible e-waste recycling is important. So I think a lot has happened. There have been companies who've done great work. People like us are trying to build reverse supply chains of bringing these devices out, attaching economic values. And I think the government is also now very, very active. So I think over the next 5-10 years, I'm sure a lot of businesses will come out. And I think we can take the forefront of being one of the largest recyclers in the world when it comes to electronic waste. So happy to be here. We'll share more insights. But very, very important problem to solve. And I think we have the right mindset and the policy framework now to solve it.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Mandeep. Let's request Mr. Sahil Jain, who comes in from a very interesting and a diametrically opposite sector from what Mandeep and Mayank actually are working on. So what is your take on this whole thing about e-waste? And why do you think we are talking about it now? Have we missed the bus or are we on track?
Yeah, see, this is a very different perspective from my side. I come from a technology corporate. world, working with some of the largest Fortune 100 companies across the world. The technology is changing every month, every quarter so rapidly. We have to change servers, CPUs to GPUs. Every single IoT device is changing. It was beacon based, now it's something else. That means there's a lot of e-waste. So that's one thing which is the source, the problem, the responsibility which is happening. That means at every single moment, whether it's an IoT device, you know what, on Heathrow Airport, we deploy some iBeacon devices. You come near to the shop and actually immediately you get a notification, oh, you are near the shop. Why do you want to come inside? So this is where every single small moment we were able to integrate, even at a London airport as well. But that means what happens afterwards was every 3 months or 6 months, technology is outdated. Now it's all in the e-waste. So that's where the responsibility part comes in, how we can still tackle this. One, from the digital side, we're actually trying to make everything more digitally. Like if you see this e-sign, Adobe also have come up with signature-based solutions. So every Indian bank right now is onboarding to that so that we can remove papers. It's all basically digital. That's one responsibility, how we can remove some of those electronic things. That's one side of it. Second, whatever we have available right now, how to recycle those. I think opportunities, as I think Mandeep already mentioned, there's a lot in those products. And sir also mentioned that every single device has so many metals and everything. How to use this? Now GPU, my word, it's actually 5 times the cost of a regular CPU. That means electricity is going out. You have a lot of metals going out. How to use those rare earth metals and still use it. So I believe it's more of a responsibility and opportunity both sides. Yeah, so this is where the corporates on the technology sides are working towards to make it more digitally savvy, as well as how to handle those existing situations.
Thank you. Sahil. My next question is directed to Dr. Ruchi. Coming from the industry, how do you see this whole space of e-waste, and are we kind of the question that I asked earlier? Did we miss the bus, or are we on track, or are we on time?
I think in India we still need to, work on it. Because when we are talking about the government side, they are taking steps. But I think that we need to also focus on the consumer perspective. So we need to make them more mindful so that, they could, mindfully they can consume, they can reduce the consumption. And plus, in case if they have already consumed, then how they can recycle. So in that case, at the consumer level, at the mass level, we need to bring changes.
Preeti, you want to take over the question which I asked Ruchi, that where are we on this space? Are we on track? What are the issues and challenges with respect to governance? And what are the way forward on this?
So because I come from the space of impact measurement, I see every issue through the lens of people, planet, and quality. And when you apply this lens to the problem of e-waste, so it is hard to ignore the magnitude of it. I also have a background in data and research, so I'll ground this conversation with some facts and data, because I believe that when you do numbers and it will stick and you remember things about e-waste and right, this is such a big problem. So e-waste has been declared the world's fastest growing waste stream, both by the UN and WHO. So there are other waste streams also. So you have plastic waste, you have medical waste, hazardous waste, but e-waste has been declared as the fastest growing. And now to put things in perspective, in 2022, globally about 62 million tons of e-waste was generated. In India, we contributed about 3.5 million of this, and it is growing annually at a rate of 30%. But out of all of this which is generated, only less than between 20 and 30% is collected, formally collected, and even a lesser percentage is recycled. And when I'm telling you these numbers, if you have to put it in perspective and understand it better, the amount of e-waste I rate in some reports is even greater than the weight of Great Wall of China. So that's the biggest or the largest artificial structure on Earth. So the amount of e-waste which is getting produced is even higher than that. I'm saying numbers because I think it is easier to understand the story that way better. I've already told that only about a third of it is collected, and even lesser is recycled. In India, it is less than 2%. Yeah, so the problem is huge. And we've got that e-waste is not ordinary waste. When I say e-waste, have phones and laptops, so it is plastics, it is metals inside, and there's glass also. So when it is being recycled, you have to take care of these different components which make up e-waste, and then further there are 21 different categories of e-waste. So it's huge, it's everywhere, of course. Uh, and the waste that is getting into landfills, uh, of all the waste that is in landfills, it's toxic. 70% of the toxic waste in landfills is coming from e-waste. And the concerning thing is that technology, your electrical and electronic equipments, they are everywhere and it cuts through sectors. So you pick up any sector, FMCG, consumer durables, retail manufacturing, and you will find e-waste everywhere. It's an omnipresent problem. So from the phones in our hands to refrigerators at home, servers in the data centers. E-waste is being produced everywhere. And I feel that's why this conversation, to answer your question, is important for us, for our nation, for our country. We've set very ambitious milestones like 2070 and 2030, your energy and emission reduction targets by 2030 first, and then 2050. And of course, this Viksit Bharat 27. But all of this cannot be achieved unless we are also acknowledging or measuring the hidden carbon footprint of e-waste. But then, like you were saying that, the devices that we use, like we have to, dispose it, change it every few months or every few years. And I remember reading that our Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji, also said that, today's latest devices, they're actually tomorrow's, their future's e-waste. So yeah, so that's the problem that we have. But then I also don't want to end on a negative note because I feel that the opportunity is as big as the problem is. Like waste can be converted to wealth. And if I may, because we are an impact measurement company, we work with a lot of e-waste management companies also. Citing an example of one of our clients, they're a big waste management company and they have different revenues, waste streams, and we saw how the revenue is increasing for each of those waste streams. Particularly for e-waste, their revenue grew like within a period of 3 years by 421%. So that is a number, a good figure which tells you that if recycled properly, if collected properly, waste can be converted into opportunity. We can protect our own supply chains. We can save money in the long run. That's my take.
Thank you.
So while there are risks, there are immense opportunities also.
Thank you, Arvind. I think there's a very different perspective which has come in. One of the points that you mentioned in passing was that there are 21 types of e-waste, you said?
Yeah. So that's what the standard categorization is. And
so I think somewhere the discussion is hotting up where Mandeep talked about, not to think of e-waste as a nemesis. Sahil talked about from his IT product that how more and more digitalization is trying to reduce paperwork. So in a way, he's trying to move towards e-waste, but also simultaneously trying to man it. We had Dr. Ruchi, who brings in an industry perspective where she's trying to work more from a research perspective. And finally, Harpreet talked about through her data in terms of how e-waste needs to be managed. So it's not waste, it's something in terms of wealth. Over to Mayank, who brings in a completely interesting perspective on this whole space of e-waste. And the question that I specifically wanted to ask Mayank is that at SellSmart, you simplify responsible selling of appliances. How do you see D2C models helping India tackle the growing e-waste problem?
No, that's an interesting point, but maybe just 2 minutes, I'll also talk about a few other things. Is that there are so many nuances and
aspects in the whole e-waste industry. So I think what Mandeep was saying, I'm sure none of us have seen a mobile phone or a laptop lying around in a garbage. I think you've never seen electronic waste floating around. And why? Because the unorganized sector is terribly efficient. Everything goes to the unorganized sector and they do recycle. But the impact is that when you recycle without technology, there is a health impact because the people who are predominantly working here are women and children using rudimentary ways to extract gold, silver, and metals, which has a very, very, very harmful impact. There are some studies which say that the average life expectancy of the real people working there is less than 30. So that is one. Second is the national interest. Now we are predominantly importing metals. We have this whole thing about rare earths, and we know the talk about it, and that comes from the batteries. And if you can recycle the lithium-ion batteries, you actually get what is now a global lever for countries like China. So when it goes to the unorganized sector, yes, they recycle, but perhaps only 50-60%. The remaining goes into the landfill, which is a lot of national resource which is wasted and the quality is low. So one aspect is that. The second aspect is the organized sector actually finds it very difficult. So Harpreet talked about the growth. The way I look at it is if the organized sector is only 20%, what stops companies growing by 5x in 1 year? You keep buying, recycling, and selling it because of the unorganized sector. The margins in recycling in e-waste is extremely low, mostly unprofitable. And that has been a big problem for the industry. Mandeep would know that. Therefore, there are some government policies, don't get into the depth of it, which has actually encouraged this space. Now, coming to the D2C part, Atero is a very, very large recycler. We've been around since 2008, 2009. And we have a massive plant, a 150,000 metric ton plant, which in layman term is equal to 30 lakh ACs. Can be recycled. Now that's a huge quantum. And e-waste is not mobile and laptop. E-waste is actually also the fridge, AC, and washing machine. And that's how you get that high tonnage. How do you actually procure that from homes where 70% of all end of life appliances are in a profitable manner, in a scalable manner, and recycle? And I think that was a challenge which the industry has. I think globally, that's what Atero has. And that was a concept we had last year. That can we do something where we do a direct to home, a direct to consumer platform, and with the right unit economics, bring it back. So I'm happy to say that I think what we've been doing has clicked because from a completely digital model where our procurement is equivalent to quick commerce, the way they operate, today we are on track by maybe March 26 to pick up 50,000 metric ton of electronic waste from individual consumer homes. We almost pick up 25 to 30,000 customer pickups on a monthly basis. And I think that has happened predominantly because of the ecosystem that exists, which has fueled the whole entrepreneurial journey. And why? There's data. That means people are online and they can easily sell their old appliances. Majority of people are looking at convenience. I actually come back and say that environment is a good gift wrap. People don't care about the environment. If I went to the customer and said, I want to buy your AC for free because I'm going to recycle it, it's going to save the country, people will not sell. They want a fair value. However, there's this large base who want a decent value, but they also care for the environment, they want convenience, and they are the audience. Now with labor, and we have commoditized labor, unfortunately, which is what is fueling the e-commerce, quick commerce. We have a large pool of workforce which can go to consumer homes and pick up, which doesn't exist in the West, where labor costs are very, very high. So utilize that with the way the quick commerce have done that to efficiently pick up as many products from one vehicle. So can I take 2 minutes?
Yeah, sure.
So to give you perspective, let's say we have a portal, SellSmart, someone wants to sell. When I do not have, the bigger we are, the easier it becomes, because now I get 20 people in Kutub institutional areas or Karya Sarai who have ACs to give, just giving a perspective. So my vehicle can now efficiently pick up 20 in a day. When you're smaller, you'll have maybe 20 in South Delhi, so you cannot pick up. So we realize that the more you scale, and if you can do it with a sustainable model, the more you can pick up, which means that holy grail where how do you go to a home and pick up a 3,000, maybe a 900 bucks washing machine and make money out of it is fundamentally impossible. But because of scale, we realize you can do it. And the last aspect is that definitely the industry is looking at circularity. Again, not because they may per se care for the environment. I think there are a large number of firms who do. But what they've realized is that it is a business model. If you sell something, you obviously buy something. And if there is a business model where it gets out of the unorganized sector into the organized sector, you do it. The last closing point is that a firm like Atero, I'm terribly proud. I didn't know about the space a year back. I'm not from the space. Is able to extract 98% of what comes in, which means that our wastage is negligible and with very high purity levels, where today firms, two of the largest global mobile phone manufacturers are actually auditing us, talking to us, where the metals that we recycle, which are the green metals, can be used in the device because they want to use recycled metals. Cashify, I'll just talk one thing, has been tremendous because it has exposed people to the concept that yes, this can be done. And it's actually made the job easy, but I just say we are Cashify for used appliances. And I think one has to understand that when someone solves a problem for the first time, they actually introduce a business model to the industry that it can be done without the traditional way. So these guys, and even Atero, when we started 2008, are actually pioneers because you started way before time. You struggled, but you've created an industry, a business model where perhaps recycling, refurbishment can be at scale and you can solve something at scale.
Thank you, man, for those interesting insights and the fact that you owe a lot to Kashif. You started off. So, a quick question to Mandeep. What challenges do you face in building consumer trust around second-hand devices? And how can policy and industry together improve adoption of circular practices?
So before I move on, I would just make a statement. It's terribly hard to build a reverse supply chain for ACs and fridges and washing. We tried it, we failed, and thankfully somebody is doing a good job. It's easier to carry 100 of these in a bag and bring to a central collection point, but refrigerators, washing machines are very, very hard. I mean, think of your home, like when's the last time you sold your refrigerator when it was in tatters? Like, there was nothing left in it. You used it for 10, 12 years and then you wanted to throw it. Now, to the question on how do you build consumer trust? Okay, so in our business, we have two sides. You have to build trust on buying the devices from consumers, and then you have to build trust on selling it back to consumers. So it's not a single problem, it's two-way problem. Now, when you're buying a device from consumers, given that we work on mobility, which is smartphones, laptops, your digital watches, the foremost pillar that we rely on is data security. because all of you, including us, all of us, we care about the data which is there on our devices. And I think one of the things that we realized is a large number of devices, and I'll tell you 85% of devices in the country are lying in people's homes. Only 15% actually change hands every year. Just think of the numbers, 150 million smartphones are sold every year in the country. That's 15 crore new smartphones are sold. How many are traded back? 3 crore, 2.5 crore. Where is the rest of 12 crore? It is lying in your homes, it's lying in your drawers because it takes very little space. And the reason why it's lying there is people think it's very difficult for them to sell. And my data is super important. I will use this device at some point, and that day never comes and becomes e-waste at some point. I will hand it down to somebody. Now the handed down cycles are also over. You've given your old phone to your mom. Now your mom is saying, I don't need a new old phone now. Give me a new phone, right? So how do you build consumer trust is, building on 3 to 4 pillars. Okay, your data is safe. I'll give you the best bang for your buck with least amount of effort. And third, of course, as he said, it's a gift wrap of environment. People don't care about it, but they feel nice if you do something which is nice for the environment. So a lot of effort for us has gone into educating people that your data is very, very safe with us. And I think we've given a lot of effort there. On the other side, when we sell second-hand devices, and we like to call it refurbished devices or pre-loved devices because that's a fancier name, what we realized is every device is different. So assuming that people would buy a device from an e-commerce platform was very naive for us for the first few months. So we put in an effort to build our offline distribution offices or, as you call shops. So today we have 205 such shops across the country where people can actually touch and feel the product, see that, refurbished device is something that really works, is as good as new. And we built a service network of around 205 stores. All these stores that we operate also act as service centers. So we at some point realized that you have to build the DNA of a OEM, like a Samsung or a Apple, the way they conduct their business. They are no different. The only difference is our raw material is an old phone, whereas their raw material is, say, metals and resources that they bring together to build the phone. But everything else is the same. Talking about data security, and then on the other side, talking about after-sale support, warranty, and giving them a physical touch point to look at the device, feel it, and then buy, is something that we had to build the trust in this market.
Great, thank you so much. Let's move to Sahil. And one of the points that Sahil made in his opening remarks was the experience that he had working with some of the global leaders, Fortune 500. So what best practices can India adopt to build scalable tech-driven solutions for e-waste based on your experience with these kind of companies?
Yes, I would say there are 3 layers to it. One is before it is purchased, second, once it is purchased, and next, once it is actually done and dusted, and now it's basically a post-purchase cycle. So before it is purchased, I believe that India definitely should have some better mechanisms to track. Okay, I think EU is coming up with a passport system, which is I think launching in 2026, where every single electronic device will have some ID, which can be tracked. Okay, what is the cycle of this, and when it is actually going in a stage, it has to be recycled. I think 2026 they are launching this program, so it has to be before product is launched. And I believe some companies are trying to do this. It's not so easy because in India, the market is so informal. So we have to really ensure that it gets tracked. Second is predicting. Okay, it's all about an AI era. Can we do something about, I don't know if anybody of you have heard about digital twin technology. It's a very niche and very new thing. Can we just attach my device to maybe a small thing which can tell me, okay, what is the life cycle of this device right now? Does it have any problems? Like a typical car servicing showroom also does that. They connect a small laptop to the car and it can tell everything, okay, what is going on. So the same thing, can we do this for every single device? Or why not we predict, okay, maybe some kind of alerts. I think there's a lot of research happening right now to give prediction or alerts to the human body. You know what, your BP is going up and down, you should do this and that. Why don't we do it for the electronic devices as well? But you know what, electronic device is actually having this situation, you should get it regularly serviced, or you should actually get this discarded in a better way. The third stage is once it is done and dusted, what I'm facing right now as a consumer as well as a technology thing is, we have a lot of phones lying in my home. I was telling Mandeep in the morning that my son are actually playing around with those old phones. Why I was not able to sell it? The reason was the payment and the cycle which collects this thing. So there is no dynamic pricing. I was trying to sell it to some of these platforms, but the experience was not so good. It was almost at a final stage of the product, but the payment which was being offered and the delivery person who was coming to my doorstep, experience was okay. He had to go through 10, 20 different things, and after that he said, "Oh, you know what? I was offering you 2,000 rupees, but no, right now I can only offer you 100." I literally had to send him back. I think that AI thing has to be developed to provide a dynamic pricing to find out which are those rural areas which maybe we can target and somehow come out with something like agentic. Okay, it's a new term in this year right now. That can we have agents which can find out the key markets which can be targeted, find out some dynamic pricing like how Oyo Rooms and the other companies does, right? They change the pricing based on demand and the place. Why can't we do that to attract those people? Otherwise, this e-waste is going to sit in the homes forever unless we actually attract those people. Just before the phone is almost at the dead stage, we still have a lot of opportunity which is not being, I think, tackled. I was reading a lot of papers as well. I think Kashify had 44%, I think last year, refurbishment device upgrade. I think the demand, it was, I think, 444%, which was increasing every single year. And SalesMart, I think, is recycling 144,000 tons every year, I think, e-waste. So that means it is happening a lot, but still, I believe that gray area, which at least as a consumer I face, really has to be tackled. And from, I think, from Harpreet's side, we have to have some benchmarks, okay? Because there's a lot of benchmarks already available in the other countries. Like EU actually provide this feature where you put your plastic in a machine and you actually get paid for it. So people actually go forward, collect everything from the area, and they actually try to earn money. Why don't we put some benchmarks to our devices? You know what, devices into this benchmark now, it is actually eligible for that. You go in and actually dump it, you will get earned. So it's actually an entire touch point of a consumer or customer which we are able to hit. I think this is where from the technology side, we are not even thinking in that direction. I believe it has a lot of opportunities coming up. So this is, I think, one of the area which I believe from the AI and the technology side, we can really tackle this.
Thank you so much, Sahil. Dr. Ruchi, got a perspective from the demand side and from the supply side. So do you think the kind of research that academic world today is doing, are we on the right track? Especially the points that Harpreet talked about, we seem to be somewhere going a little astray in terms of the focus. So any thoughts on in terms of how do we, merge the demand and the supply side of this whole aspect of ecosystem of
Yes, I feel, let's say, from my marketing perspective, and as I'm teaching, so I would like to bring to this knowledge that we need to first of all understand the consumer psyche. So usually you say it's more like a black box. So we need to reveal what's in that black box. So there's a need to research to understand the area. So as both of you mentioned about the trust, data security, convenience. So few aspects that we need to understand to reveal why somebody would like to go for that. So security is something that all of us we are very concerned about. In case we are selling our mobile phones, our data is there. So how the companies they could understand our issues, our concerns, and then based on that they are coming up with the solution, something that we need to understand. And from the from the industry perspective, so they need to understand about who could be the consumer segment that they could target. So who could be the one? So let's say when we are talking about Gen Z, Gen X, and Gen Y, they do have a very different profiles. So when we are talking about Gen Z, we are saying okay, they are very eco-friendly. They are very they accept technology. So in that case, they need to understand about who could be the segments that they could understand. And yes, when we're talking about the consumers, they usually go for we're not talking about the flats that we're deciding, but about those who are not living in the organized way. So in that case, they usually go for kabari walas. Fine. They go and then sell there. So what about that? It's an organized sector that we're talking about. So how can we connect kabari walas with remanufacturer, recyclers? How can we connect the dots? And yes, and plus when we're talking about the brands from where we are getting the new products, so how can we connect brands with these recyclers and the remanufacturers is something that we need to work so that we could balance the gap between supply and demand.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ruchi, for those interesting thoughts. Harpreet, this one's for you. How can ESG framework help organizations embed accountability for e-waste management in their business model?
let's look at accountability from two sides, from the risk and opportunity as well. So overall, we know that ESG frameworks, they intend to, you know, uh, bring transparency and accountability and comparability. So, for example, we have BRSR, it gives you KPIs and you can report against those KPIs. And I think for e-waste, we've already discussed that ESG issues, like issues surface in all three dimensions of ESG. It's a people crisis, planet crisis. It's a governance issue too if it is not being reported properly. But I feel that when we look at reporting, it should not be speaking or highlighting only risks. I think we've highlighted a lot of risks related to e-waste. We should, talk about opportunities also. And I think for businesses, these or for companies, corporates, these opportunities emerge in four different ways. One is, of course, the circular economy advantage. If you're building products to be reusable, recyclable, they can be repaired. So we are saving costs in the long term, and we are helping protect the planet also. And second is, of course, green jobs and the social impact, that companies can create if they are recycling properly. So when we formalize the sector, we've heard enough that this is mostly informal, unorganized. And so when we try, so if companies can try to formalize it in a way, they will help, create safer workplaces and provide dignity also to the workers who are, collecting waste. Then definitely there's the revenue recovery angle. So we heard that, you can, take out different minerals and metals and rare earth materials from the devices, e-devices that you are discarding. An example, a way to see the value is that, if there is a ton of discarded smartphones, you can take out the amount of gold that you can take out of it is equal to the amount of gold that you take out from a ton of ore. So, so that's your revenue recovery angle to the problem. And then there's, I think, this point of alignment that, if you're reporting well, if you are doing, your e-waste, managing it properly, reporting also on it, measuring it properly, I think then you are, in a way, as a company, showing that you're forward-looking, you're responsible, your practices are sustainable. So I think that is how ESG frameworks, measurements can help companies become more responsible towards this issue.
Great, thanks. So, man, we have had a lot of discussion across from both the demand and the supply side. Do you see that this is really a behavioral issue, or this is really something more to do with interventional aspects of how to bring about a change? So, how do you see the problem, and what is the long-term roadmap that comes to it? Mandeep talked about some of the points here, and then you have your own thoughts. And then Harpreet talked about.
So I actually do not think it's a behavioral issue. I again go back. It is the unit economics and business economics issue. So Sahil talked about I did not get the value. Now the way I would flip it, that today you can get a feature phone, the Nokia feature phone for $900. Visualize how much will you extract or how much value will you get with an old Nokia phone, perhaps $20, $30. It's not economically viable for me to go to your home and pick it up. On the other aspect is the whole smartphone business. I think Mandeep knows it better. Buying is one aspect, but you got to also sell it. And people don't want to buy a mid-end smartphone because they're already fairly cheap. So you want to buy that iPhone, you want to buy that maybe S23. That is a very different nuance to it. Third angle is we talk about manufacturers or brands wanting to build circularity. But essentially, the whole economy, everything is built on growth. The margins in the FMCD industry is extremely thin. It is surprisingly thin. So even they do not have enough resources, or they do not want to spend enough resources in this. Coming back to consumer behavior, I again slice it, and I think because we get so many orders, uh, if we map it, and that's how we do it, every 1 month we map the orders that we got, let's say in Delhi. It's a very beautiful model where fundamentally the middle class is actually those who are conscious enough, who are scared enough to not throw away the device, but who also value for some money. They are the ones who are ready to give. I'll give an anecdote. We actually lose money every time we go and pick up a smartphone from your home. The only way we make money is because we've got a vehicle which is picking up 10, so I pick up the 11. So I told my team that it's foolish buying it. We are burning cash. We'll just give 1 rupee, right? For a laptop, 1 rupee; for a phone, 1 rupee; for a TV. I couldn't believe it. The orders didn't stop. So we didn't call them. Are you sure? 1 रुपए के लिए हम आएंगे? So they're like, no, fine. It's my problem. Why do you care? But the flip is, if I were to offer, let's say, 1200 rupees for an old laptop, I will have so many orders. I will have so many orders that I will not be able to service it. But in that will come pilferage. You'll have scrap dealers who sell things. I still make money going to a home, picking up a laptop, making maybe max 10%, 15% recycling. So I come to it is that unless the government has policies, which now it has, which is the EPR guidelines, only then can this whole sector become formalized. And you have a very valid point about, we talked about the data security. And it's very tricky. You can't go wrong even for one consumer. So I think what they do, and I've obviously know their business model, they work very hard on it. But the moment you want to pick up 30,000 devices from someone's home, how do I build that ecosystem of data security? Because I'm only making $20. Do I give a fancy packaging? Do I give barcoding? And I think therefore I come back to it is that if we think from it as a huge opportunity, but can we build business models with government support, with consumer awareness, uh, to make it scalable as a solution? I think then we'll be able to solve it. So it's a big opportunity, but it requires a lot of things to get into it. So in a way, I get irritated when people say that so much of e-waste, so much is recycled. It's obvious there is loads of stuff. It's obvious it's at homes. The problem is why is it not coming out? Because of the business model that is required to solve it, and it's difficult, but it's evolving, and I can see a lot of change happening in this space.
Very just
Yeah, please. Yes.
it's a very interesting thing. One is you go to the consumer. Second is how can you bring consumer to yourself? Okay, I actually was in Atlanta last year, and we did it for a very big FMCG brand. It's in I cannot name them, but it's Atlanta-based Fortune 100 company. So what they did was Mexico was a country which they were targeting. How to do this kind of a situation for a bottling company, like for a drink, flavored drink. So what they did was they actually created a coupon system that okay, you know what, you come to the website, click on okay that there's some offers coming out, have at least 3 free coupons available. Now you have to go to the shop to get a free refill done. It was in a way they were able to attract people to the shops. Like Cashify has opened the shops. Why don't we actually attract the people to come to the shop? Then you have 3 coupons available with some discount. In that case, it was refill. In this case, maybe some discount coupons or maybe some exchange and a lot. So they were actually able to do this, and it was such a successful program. In a country like Mexico, where there's a water problem, they were able to reduce plastic. They were able to reduce the number of bottles being created, and everything was reused. People were coming directly to the shop, and actually we saw 13% uplift in their actually sales numbers with just this small program for sustainability. To such a wonderful program, they were not even reaching out to them. People were coming to the shops. So I think this is where you can actually just tackle this in a different way.
I have like a lot of experience with the brands, all the OEMs who manufacture smartphones and laptops. Now, intent is there. Where it falters, and it's very beautiful case study, and you should the agenda for sustainability lies with the ESG team in the company. There's a sustainability team, there's an ESG team. Now, you can solve this. People will bring in their old devices. They will also bring in their scrap. You have to incentivize them. Now, today, if you buy an iPhone 16, and at that point, if you're selling your old product, you get 5,000 rupees extra from Apple as an exchange bonus because you're trading in your phone. You all may have seen the ads, and that is available for every brand. Right? Now, what if I bring in my old BlackBerry which is not working and try to buy an iPhone 16? Will I get that 5,000 rupees? The answer is no. Right? But essentially, there is a new sale happening. Right? What does Apple care? That a new phone should be sold. The challenge is that the old BlackBerry which is not working, the agenda moves to the ESG team. That okay, run a campaign, bring back scrap, and we will give you 5,000 rupee extra. That has to move through the ESG team or sustainability team. Unfortunately, sustainability team does not have the budgets. All the budget is with the sales team. And both these teams, they don't want to work together. So that is the unfortunate reality. Whatever you said is possible. We can bring out all the old electronics, all old laptops from people's home. We just need to convince the sales team and sustainability team to share their budgets. That's all. That's where the solution lies. And we've tried so hard, it is not happening. So if somebody can bring in good sense, convince the brands that this is the way to bring out e-waste, I'm telling you, the number of devices which are going to come out will be 10x more than what it is happening.
So I'll make one more point to Mandeep. What is interesting is I don't think any of us thought it could evolve. Is that today when I go to brands, I never talk about the environment, e-waste aspect. We actually say that we are here to build your sales. And why has that happened? Is because on a very, very core basis, if you look at the appliance industry, 30-40% of what new, that especially in urban areas, so any new product that you have bought, you're not the first buyer, let's say, of an AC, maybe people sitting here. You always have an old AC that you want to sell as an exchange. Now, what happened till now was fine. It used to go to the kabadi or to the local retailer who would then give it to the unorganized sector. The brand did not have any lever on it. Now, suddenly there is this brand called SellSmart, which now comes and says is that, hey, I've got a different model now. I can go to a consumer's home and pick it up. So I don't need the dealer now to pick up the old product. I have built some tech where I can do an instant digital payout. And third is I have a tech platform. So I actually can become a sales enabler. You can meet your sustainability goals and your EPR requirements. So every time I pick up, you meet your targets and you get the certificate that you need, or sale badta hai. So the moment the conversation moved from the ESG procurement team to the sales guys, they said, yeah, I want to increase sales. It's very competitive. So what we did is like, let's say a brand like Daikin. Now at a global level, they have sustainability embedded into the ecosystem. So they came, okay, let's start something, and we started something called the Daikin Green Exchange. We partnered with them, which is now running in many parts of India. So what they did is what Mandeep is pointing out is that when you go to a store and you want to buy a new AC, so वहाँ पे advertisement होगा Daikin Green Exchange. If you sell your old AC and you buy Daikin, you'll get $6,000 off. Now in places like Kochi, Mumbai, Chennai, where disposable income is high, there is actually a shortage of labor, there is organized retail. They don't want to deal with the old appliance. Maybe you get only 3K. So the customer is now getting a good value. The customer opts into it. It goes on to a tech platform which we built, and they do the whole process. We are all integrated. Now we don't need the dealer. We go to the consumer home. We pick up the old product, make them that payment, and obviously we have an arrangement with Daikin where it is giving us some part of the value that we give as its CAC, as its marketing cost of acquiring a customer. Now, this has become a beautiful model because it's ticking a lot of boxes and fundamentally it's a sales enabler. And there are certain places like in Kerala, just 1 minute, the sales guy, he was like, after our life, that I want to open all of Kerala. I said, I cannot go to Kasargod in North Kerala and pick up your prices. No, you have to do it. He chewed our brain. We said, okay, we are there in it. He said, I've been in this industry for 15 years. I see this as an opportunity. I have to do it. And we did it. And this month, I can't believe it, that 30% of all their sales is happening because of the green exchange. So I think what Mandeep is saying, what we all know, and I think the example that you gave, that when it all comes together, it can actually become a very nice, sustainable process. So therefore, we all need to maybe not just look at one lens, how do we all bring it in? And I think then it can happen. And now it's become easy because another 8 guys have come and said, even I want to do it because of the competition.
Let's just talk about a repeat example, how to bring new opportunity. I'll show you this example. Okay, this is a simple app in a phone. This was my research project in the university. The objective was how can you convert a typical day-to-day device into more of a new digital device. This thing, what it does is it's actually a metal detector app. Okay, so in a typical device, you have 10 or 20 different small sensors. Just imagine this is a e-waste, right? After maybe a year, I will just dump it. But there are so many sensors. Can we even use it? It actually can be used for a recycled thing to make a metal detector, maybe a gold detector, aluminum detector. Just put it in your regular day-to-day thing. So the manufacturing and your industry, I think, can really use it in a different way as well. Not just putting it as a phone, but picking up those sensors and just installing it. Literally, this was a very interesting project which university gave as a research to the students that time. As a corporate, I also do extracurricular in the studies. So this is a different thought process, like how we can use a day-to-day thing to create another industry out of it. So just imagine both of your industries actually can really do a lot in the manufacturing and just breaking this down further.
Right. Thank you, everybody. Any questions from the participants here? If the floor is open. You've heard so much from them. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to ask you.
Can you introduce yourself?
Sorry. Oh yeah. Hi. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jyoti, and I'm a research scholar in IMI. My question is like, how do we define the second-hand goods and e-goods? Like, is there any proper definition? Like, because suppose if I'm using any product since 4 5 years and I want to sell it, so is it a e-waste or is it a second-hand goods? So, is there any definition, or we are clear about it or not?
Very simple definition. If you can use it,
That's
or you can extend the life by repairing and making it usable, it is not e-waste. The day it is completely junk, even after repairing you can't do anything, then it is e-waste. That's my definition. No, no, anybody has it.
so when we talk about the government policy, so why India does from the policy point of view, why don't we have that definitional difference between the e-waste and the second-hand goods?
That's fair. I don't know why we don't have, but I think the government. Yeah.
Online we find many reports. So e-waste is exactly defined. UN hyping happens.
UN does it, yeah.
India also, because we have the ERP,
EPR, yes.
There are standard definitions. I don't remember, but then it's something like something which you're not using, even if it is in working condition, but you're not using it for some reason. It's outdated, obsolete, etc. Or something which is now broken or damaged, and then there's a couple of more things. You exactly define what is needed. And taking has you've already used it, and it is still working. You can pass it on to somebody else in the family or student. So you will get plenty of definitions, standard definitions for each. And like I mentioned, there are plenty of categories. Exactly for that. Thank you. Thank you.
We extend a very heartfelt thanks to all the panelists and Professor Das Gupta for such an engaging and insightful discussion. Now, I would like to say that we are honored to have amongst ourselves Dr. Ruchi Garg, who is an associate professor of marketing at BML Munjal University, who are our collaborators for today's event. She publishes research articles in the fields of sustainability marketing, mindful consumption, and consumer psychology. In addition to teaching and research, she has completed consulting and research projects for organizations such as Niti Aayog, ICSSR, Lakshya Foods Limited, and Haryana State University. Dr. Garg actively engages with industry professionals and policymakers through her consulting and research work. We now invite Dr. Garg to share her thoughts with us.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I would like to thank Dr. Pinaki sir, Dr. Nitika, industry experts, four of you, esteemed members of organizing and steering committees, fellow academicians and students. It's a great honor and privilege to stand before you today representing BML Munjal University, a proud collaborator in this national conference on circular economy. First and foremost, on behalf of BML Munjal University, I would like to extend our sincere gratitude to IMI Delhi for hosting this event. Your dedication to Viksit Bharat 2047 initiative is truly commendable, and it's a privilege to partner with you. We also express our deep appreciation to the Indian Council of Social Science Research for their sponsorship. So it's a part of our ICSSR research grant, which underscores the academic and societal significance of this conference. The theme of this conference resonates deeply with our commitment at BML Munjal University. We believe that a developed India is not merely an economically prosperous one, but one that is also environmentally sustainable and socially equitable. This conference provides a vital platform for us to share insights, deliberate on challenges, and collectively chart a course towards a more circular and sustainable future. So I'm confident that the collective wisdom in the conference will generate meaningful ideas, collaborations, and will continue collaborate and make India transition towards a circular economy. Thank you once again for your participation. Thank you.
We would now like to invite Dr. Nitika Sharma, the convener of the conference, to address the audience and offer a vote of thanks. Dr. Nitika Sharma is an assistant professor of marketing with a PhD in commerce from Delhi University and postdoctoral research from the University of Beira, Interior, Portugal. With over 8 years of experience, her expertise includes environmental marketing, sustainable consumption, services marketing, social entrepreneurship, and spirituality. She serves as guest editor, associate editor, and editorial board member for several academic journals and reviews for leading publications. She has received multiple awards, including the 2023 Emerald Gujarati Outstanding Paper Award and Best Paper Awards from prestigious institutions such as IIM Bangalore and IIT Delhi. She is also recognized as an innovation ambassador by the Ministry of Education's Innovation Cell and AICTE, marking her as a prominent figure in marketing, sustainability, and social responsibility.
Okay. Respected delegates, panelists, my colleague and participants, on behalf of IMI Delhi, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the distinguished panelists, who were truly able to discuss something which is very important, and the topic that we were discussing, the total towards the circular economy and the future of e-waste management. So we understood that, after their talk, that e-waste is no longer a technical issue. It's a societal challenge for us to understand. And as the technology is, at advance, so does the responsibility to discard the electronic responsibility, and we should be doing it responsibly. And resource recovery is not just about recycle, it's about to reimagine waste to a wealth. And today's dialogue was very fruitful. The conversation was sharing and talking about how in India we can be more sustainable and how in India, we can see more of circularity. So, I would like to sincerely, first of all, thanks ICSSR for giving us this project so that we can work, we can sit together and we can, brainstorm, coming up with the recommendation, talking to the participants with the same, the idea, and the IMI Delhi and BM Munjal for coming together and hosting this whole event. I extend my heartfelt, gratitude to our esteemed panelists who were very, generous in giving their perspective in this very important topic. So I would like to thank Mr. Mandeep Manocha sir for coming and talking something very important. So there's a very small token of, appreciation for our side, which I would request Binaki sir to kindly, hand over to sir. Talk, talk about this moment. So let me just get your. Yeah. So, there's not surprise. I would request, Mr. Mayank sir to, talk about. Mr. Mayank sir, had to please come and talk about this. So you would like to give? I would request. So I would request Pinaki sir to please, sir, don't say that. I would request you to, give this small token of appreciation from Atero Recycle to our delegates and from IMI also, to our delegates. I would request, sir, to present this to Mr. Sahil Jain. And, bringing a very different perspective, bringing the technology, the advocacy, who advocates about technology. Whenever we meet, he talks about AI and, how it is very important for us to integrate the AI. Now, he's on the other side speaking something else, huh? No?
Oh, sorry.
You're speaking something else on the other side of the technology.
Yeah, actually, I was very interested to actually hear about how these brands are actually working, and this a very different perspective altogether for me. Because coming from a digital side, I never heard about the real story, what actually goes behind it when we for this market. I think I really like that. There's a lot of fun, I would say, a challenge, and maybe competition. I'm sure it's a fun journey.
Don't forget that they are on the platform side of the business.
Yes.
Yeah,
And being on the platform side of the business has its own perils.
exactly.
It's fun. So our office is in Sector 64, Noida. So those who guys who take the highway, see the Gazipur. So I that's what I tell the team. I went to myself कि कुछ नहीं हुआ, नहीं कुछ हुआ, but at least वो landfill में कुछ तो कम हुआ हमारी वजह से. And I think that is also a big motivator for everyone. So
उसका थोड़ा कम हुआ है. इधर वाला भी कम हुआ है, वो जो करवा
सारे कम हुए.
They are all going below the road.
हमारी वजह से.
It had gained fairly high amount of notoriety in terms of nomenclature as well.
Correct.
Calling it very weird.
The kids call it, my son calls it a mountain area. He calls it a mountain area. He thinks it's a hill station.
That place had a mountain, but the other ones were not very good.
On the Mountain View office. We have, like Google office, we have Mountain View.
So thank you. Once again, I would like to thank, Ms. Harpreet Kaur Thai for coming and, sharing a very nice thing, which as I've told you that we are struggling with this. We conceptualize, we theorize, we write a paper, but when it comes to a, real agenda, that how we can measure the impact. So they are the one who can help us in the same. Thank you for coming and sharing your ideas with us. Last but not the least, I would like to thank Mr. Mayank Sirha for coming and, providing us, supporting with the mementos and adding our momentum with this respect. Thank you.
I don't get the name.
No, you want it? Thank you. Thanks a lot. for sharing the ideas. Always a pleasure to have you.
So this
And
time there were the national games in Uttarakhand. So interestingly, the medals that were presented, gold, silver, and bronze, were all used Atero's recycled metals, which came from the e-waste. So I think when you get those, that's when the consumers actually understand the perspective. And this is a small example. We thought that this is fairly expensive for us to make, manufacture, but this is actually the e-waste which goes to our plant, and we are able to extract 22 metals, which is a very, very high number. So this is actually the stuff that has got recycled and it's come back.
So special thanks to our moderator, Dr. Pinaki Das Gupta, sir, for being there and steering the conversation very thoughtfully. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. And special appreciation to our organizing committee, media, branding team, and IT department, and our volunteers. You would have seen everything very serious and very, very good details. It's because of them. I would like to thank them for being there on their toes, since the discussion that we are talking about. And my final gratitude to all the participants and delegates, who have joined us. This is a, live stream. So we have people who have joined us, through YouTube also. So I would like to thank them. And this discussion is not the end. This is a beginning. We have received around more than 55 papers. So which we will have a track. We're going to debate on them and we can enrich our ideas. So looking forward to have a further engaging discussion in the upcoming, sessions that we have now.
Maybe I just want to congratulate IMI also. See, Nitika, Pinaki sir, and Irmani sir as well. See, not everybody is thinking from the environment or sustainability side. So, in fact, there's a theme these days going on: AI for good. Because AI is getting into every direction, but not for the good part. It's always going into the bad part right now. So I think you actually have literally thought in a different direction. And this kind of forum rarely happens, right? We rarely see this. To actually see the environment impact and see all these brands and even technology, how they can come together to actually tackle this. So really, thank you so much. I think it must have been a lot of work even for the students. The 55 papers, oh my God, that's actually a lot of numbers. And I'm sure a lot of research and effort would have gone in. And even if you get the final certificate or not, but still just think about it. The research you would have done, the ideas which might have come in, I think it's a lot of opportunities. Every idea can become a startup, in fact. So just think in that manner. I think it's a lot of good initiative that IMI is doing. I have not seen from other universities this kind of thing, but thank you so much for this and thank you for inviting us as well.
Thank you for your kind words. And would you please join us for the high tea, and then we're going to have a session that will be starting at 11:45. Thank you.
I muted even stop the video.
Left side.
I'm muted.